Welcome to Jeremiah's Porch Talks. This is where we take a few minutes, talk about leadership in life, right from my front porch here in Sykesville, Maryland. Rain or shine, this is a time for us to reflect, reset, and get ready for whatever comes next in our respective journeys. I'm Jeremiah. Thanks for joining me. Today, I want to speak about a sacred idea, one that's older than any constitution and bigger than any one nation. It's the idea that every human being has dignity, not because of what they produce or what they vote for or how they worship, but because they are human. This is my 50th Porch Talk, and today I'm not here to reflect. I'm here to call for a referendum for human dignity. This is not about ballots or campaigns, but a deeper call for redemption, an internal societal reckoning on how we treat the most vulnerable among us, a soul check on whether we still believe in human dignity, and if we do, if we're willing to stand in the gap and advocate for it. The prophet Isaiah once said these words: "Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless." These words ring across the centuries, and they don't just echo from Jerusalem's dusty streets. They harmonize with other traditions as well. The Quran reminds us, worship God and associate nothing with him, and be kind to parents, relatives, orphans, the needy, the near neighbor and the distant neighbor, the close companion and the traveler, and those in your charge. Surely God does not like those who are arrogant or boastful. And the Dhammapada teaches hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. By non-hatred, by creating human dignity enclaves, is hatred appeased. And the founder of this great country of ours, though imperfect in their application, were not unclear in their aspiration. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only legitimate object of good government." John Adams wrote, "Government is instituted for the common good, and not for the profit, honor, or private interest of any one person, family, or class of persons." Isn't that the test of our systems? Do they serve the vulnerable as fiercely as they protect the powerful? And Adams, like many of us, knew where justice begins. It's not in the courtrooms, but at our kitchen tables. He further explained, public virtue cannot exist in a nation without private virtue. Justice must foundationally flourish in small places so that it can flourish in great ones. Adam Smith went on to say, justice is the main pillar that upholds the whole edifice. If it is removed, the immense fabric of human society must in a moment crumble into atoms. You see, justice, advocacy, and human dignity serve as a fabric for us to clothe ourselves in so that we can hold each other up. There's already too much that strives to tear us down. We must be focused on helping each other find success. Alexander Hamilton says, probably better than I can. He says, the mission of government is to comfort the afflicted and protect the innocent. It is of great importance in a republic to guard one part of society against the injustice of the other part. You see, this is our call, not to rule over people, but to lift those who are bowed down. not to build systems of control, but systems of care and dignity. These words of our founders were focused on justice, redemption, and resilience and advocacy, and they're echoed in today's scholarship. Communities flourish when their members feel seen, heard, and protected, when policies are co-designed with those most affected, when public spaces are safe, accessible, and inclusive, when systems of justice are restorative, not merely punitive, and when leaders prioritize belonging over control. The Journal of Human Dignity and Human Rights describes dignity not as a charity we bestow, but as a recognition of inherent worth. Sociologist Brené Brown reminds us that connection is why we're here. It gives us purpose and meaning to our lives. Connection is why we are here. Scholars Amartya Sen and Martha Nussbaum, through the capabilities approach, insist that real justice is giving people the tools, the resources, and the freedoms they need to live lives that they have reason to value. These ideas don't just live in a classroom or in journals. They live in the real world, in the quiet revolutions where communities choose dignity over destruction. Let's take Rwanda, for example. In the aftermath of the 1994 genocide, where some 800,000 to 1 million people were killed in just 100 days, the nation was torn apart. With over 120,000 people accused of crimes and a shattered justice system, the country turned to tradition, not retribution, to building and trying to find redemption. They built the Gacaca courts, open-air community-based tribunals where survivors and perpetrators sat face to face. It wasn't just about punishment, it was about truth, healing, and accountability. Over 1.2 million cases were heard. Many survivors said that hearing the confessions helped them begin to heal. And no, it wasn't perfect, but it was human. It was a system that trusted local people to rebuild trust and community. And because they dared to focus on dignity, even after atrocity, they began to restore a nation. Or let's look at the city of Salt Lake in Utah, which faced a persistent crisis of chronic homelessness. While most cities in the United States condition housing on either sobriety or job readiness, Salt Lake City flipped that model around. They said, what if we treated housing as a right and not a reward? So they implemented housing first, giving people permanent homes without preconditions, and then offering voluntary services like mental health support. The results were outstanding. Chronic homelessness dropped more than 90%. Emergency room visits and jail stays plummeted, and in the end, it costed less than cycling people through crisis systems. But the real win, people stabilized. They got their dignity back, not because they proved themselves, but because society believed they were worth saving in the first place. That's human dignity. Those are the systems that reflect the soul of a nation. Sometimes that says, we must see you. Systems that say we trust you and that you matter. But let me be real, we don't always get it right. Our systems can be slow. Our politics can be brutal and polarizing, and fear often shouts louder than compassion. But here's the truth. When we give up on dignity, we shrink our own. Because you can't degrade others and walk away unscarred. You can't remain silent about injustice and expect your soul to stay whole. You can't rob others of a voice and not in time lose your own. So you might say, what do we do next? We get to work, starting in our own spheres of influence. It's in the classroom, in the boardroom, in the neighborhood watch, on a town council seat, or just in your community somewhere. We speak up we listen hard, and we build up the people around us, especially those voices who've been silenced or ignored. And we remember the words of Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? It's in the small places, close to home. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have very little meaning anywhere else." We don't wait for perfect conditions. We don't wait for someone else to go first. We take what power we have and aim it toward justice. And when we get tired, and we all will get tired, we remember that resilience is more than grit. It's a return, a coming back to the vision that first stirred us, the dream not yet fulfilled, but still reachable. Now let me paint that dream for us. Let us imagine a community where every child walks to school without fear, where elders are treasured and not discarded, where a mother who's struggling is not judged, but surrounded with support, where public meetings are places of shared vision, not tribunal warfare, where policy protects and not exploits, where our visitors are treated with hospitality, and where those who seek refuge are given reprieve and grace, where dignity is not partisan, but a sacred human one, where our differences are not threats, but gifts, and where the marginalized are given space to thrive in our communities. The world is not beyond us, but it is up to us. So here's our challenge for this milestone Porch Talk of mine. Wherever you are, in your home, your job, your place of worship, your social media feed, be a builder. Let us remember the words of Confucius. A person of humanity wishing to establish themselves also establishes others. Wishing to be enlarged, they also enlarge others. We must focus on building each other. Let us speak up for dignity when it's under threat, create space for the voiceless, and design systems that heal instead of harm. And never forget, the arc of the moral universe may bend toward more justice, but only if we have the courage to do this good work. Thank you for joining me today. That's it. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me on Jeremiah's Porch Talks. Rain or shine, I'll see you next time. And please, remember to always keep the most important things.